Don't throw him under the bus. Oh, no. Oh, sure.
It's a discussion. The very last step.
It's frightening to walk. With two dogs especially, you know. I mean, it's just bad.
Now we're going to use council designated local option sales tax for new construction of, say, for Grant Hopkins.
That's the Carter's building.
Figure that out.
Marshalltown, what is their building, Marshalltown Company. They're the ones that are doing all that, all those apartments and those lots around the old totem pole, or whatever they're calling it these days.
So you're just
We have a Marshall Memory Company.
in the state
Here we
of the
treat
capital.
Adam, and you know, it's crazy. I won't raise anything until they quit giving tax kids. Remember that they're gonna put the tree canopy, and it's a good deal that they're doing. I wonder if that isn't why Michelle. We're gonna go with Regents and this, planning commission, if you read that stuff. That's a good idea. I know Marty is decent to his office. Well, we're also using it for raising people's salaries.
Well, let me know if you don't hear anything, because I just exchanged texts. I'm in town, this is my weekly thing. And I am out most of next week and most of the following week. I was out last week. There's just a lot of like, it's all like these organizations that expect you to be there. Conference, it's their board retreats, it's just a lot of like, so, just been giving it a contact. But,
community meeting to address homelessness. And in the meeting, she said, well, why don't those who are interested in contact the mayor? So
It's a great problem to have. But yeah,
so I've been telling people, well, I'm kind of busy. I'm the city administrator. Let's wait until we actually.
yeah, one of the questions. Yeah, that's
Nice to meet you, sir.
We've got a pretty good list. What? It didn't light up like it's supposed to. Well,
Gabe, can you hear us in the council chambers?
sorry. I guess this is what lights up. That doesn't light up. We're on. We're good.
Councilor Isom, can you hear us in the council chambers?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. He's right. That was about 35 seconds fast. I'm throwing this one away. Let's time this one. Hey, Jeff. Well, lunch today because I thought maybe I could swing that too, and then I didn't even get to.
No, I did read that one. Oh my gosh.
Rail schedule until April. Some of them I kind of like to try out and be kind of fun. It'd be slow to which isn't the way to do it.
Going over the button. And under
I'm working on that one, but I do have a dream trial starting on Wednesday.
Can't do anything here, but. Oh, no, that's my ward. Oh, no.
I got hit by Iowa State University cop vehicle coming out of the game on Saturday. She went like this as a four-wheeler to get me to stop. I stopped. She turned left around me, but hit the car. And I can't go front. I can't go back. So all these fans are going, did you realize she hit you? Yeah, we heard it, we saw it, and one of them took a picture. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's just typical. I'm sorry, we went by you so fast I didn't recognize you. Okay. Yeah, if I go any slower than that, I hear about it in the front seat. I think we're ready to go, right? No. 18 seconds and counting. Well, so yeah, equal opportunity keying. Exactly. All right, like that this time. Let's do this. Welcome to the City Council meeting tonight, regularly scheduled. It's Monday, September 11, 2023. The time's 5:30 p.m. We are at 10 West State Street, and I'm calling the meeting to order now. And for those who are able, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Here. Isom,
Here.
Kell,
Here.
Lottiehoff,
Here.
Schneider,
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Very good. Full house. The day started today by a service at 7:30 in the morning. Actually, we timed it so it'd be right when the first tower was hit, with the police department and the fire department out in full force. Both chiefs were there. It was a moving event. And that kind of makes the Pledge of Allegiance just a little more special today. For public comment, members of the public may make comments on any item that's not on the agenda. Approach the mic, state your name and address, limit your comments to 3 minutes unless I authorize more. Jim Shaw actually gets an extra minute because I cheated him last time. We found out that this timer is about 42 seconds fast, and so I have a new one that you'll be able to see for 3 minutes. This one is accurate. Still haven't timed this one. And so just know that, Jim, you get the extra minute tonight. You're to direct your comments to the mayor and council as a whole, and the mayor and council shall not engage in discussion or debate on these items raised by the members of the public, and no action can be taken on them. Otherwise, we might violate the open meetings laws. I missed it the last 2 or 3 times, but tonight I actually am going to ask for a public comment before asking if anybody up here wants to talk. Go for it.
Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. So tomorrow is vote day for the franchise fees. Everyone, please show up and vote, whether you're for it or against it. A lot of people went to work to make this happen. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Hello, Envoy John Hoffer, 1909 Bailey Street. I was just going to sneak in and be quiet as a means to kind of get to know the community, but I was recommended by the police chief there to take the opportunity and introduce myself. I'm the new Corps officer at the Salvation Army. I've been in town for 2.5 weeks, so I just wanted to say hi, and I'm sure I'll meet a lot of you guys down the road. So thank you.
Thank you. Give me a second because I got to clear this and
Okay.
start it again.
That's all right. This is only 3 minutes.
Oh, you're not going to use your extra minute?
No.
Okay.
This is going to be a repeat because I didn't get to finish it at the last council meeting. Comments. Generally, comments before an ordinance or other council business is voted on, councilmen are asked for their comments. Then the public is asked for their comments, sometimes giving them and sometimes not. I've been attending council meetings for quite some time. Not once has a comment from the public resulted in any changes. Case in point, several weeks ago, Halloween times were discussed. A policeman came forward and commented on that from a safety standpoint, ending 30 minutes earlier because of darkness could be a big help in a safety issue. You ignored him and voted for the original idea. Why? Was it because he wasn't a councilman? He's an expert. He's your expert, and you ignored him. I believe you're allowing public comments as just a way to make the public feel better, to vent so we can feel involved when we really aren't. The courthouse Main Street issue. I've been told it's a sewer water issue. Every street in town has this issue. Is this the worst street in town? I doubt it. Somebody's decided this is a good idea to showcase the city square. Not if it isn't the worst street in town. There should be a list of the worst streets, and that's the order that they should be repaired on, making this a waste of time and money we don't have. You even wasted money discussing an outside dining area for one of the Mexican restaurants. Are you willing to do the same for the other restaurants? Are you willing to make the same concessions for them? Because if you do it for one, you must do it for all. Have you asked the citizens how they feel about this? Nobody's knocked on my door asking me. I'll bet an overwhelming number of them will not want it and will tell you they want it spent on the other streets. Do you check with the citizens in your ward about anything? Again, have a meeting like Rob Sand does down in the park. I hear a whole lot of I think this or I think that from the council. I never hear the people in my ward want this. That's the reason you were elected, to represent us. Again, nobody's been knocking on my door. This brings us to the street repair tax. I know it's a franchise fee. Why? Because a franchise fee can be decided by a majority council vote of the council. A tax requires a citywide vote, and you definitely didn't want that. So instead, you try to slip a franchise fee by everyone. Luckily, we have Mark Eaton who knows all about this stuff. He got a petition, and now we get a vote September 12th. If it passes, and I hope it doesn't, we'll have a tax for the next 25 years. My fiance got her utility bill today, and if this franchise fee was in effect, it would add $18 to this month's bill. If it's similar for every month, it would end up costing her $5,400 over the 25 years. Your reason for this franchise fee being needed is because you say councils in the past have raided the street fund, but you won't do that. Really? Because the way it's proposed now, 30% goes to other projects for 25 years. So only 70% is going to go to the roads, and out of that money, the 70% also goes for new roads. No, we need street repair. That's what we need, roads repaired. Thank you. How was the time?
This said 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
So you saving that up or what?
And this one goes a little longer than 3 minutes, so I now know that too, so we'll go with the electronic one for now. I'll still give you another minute another day, though. Anyone else like to address the group? Okay. It is now time for council and administrator comments. Well, mayor, council, administrator comments. I usually like to do rebuttal since I'm a lawyer, but since it lists me first, I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you people how glad I am to be able to introduce our new city administrator, Joe Gott, to my left, to your right. We met this morning at 7:30 at that meeting over at the fire and police station, and I have to tell you, I'm not the only one sitting up here that is really glad to have a city administrator back in place. And, you know, the staff usually sits over there, and I can tell you they are really glad to have somebody other than me acting as the city administrator. So I'd like to welcome Joe Gott. Thanks for coming. And if you'd like to say anything, this would be the time.
Well, yes, I'd just like to thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity. I'm pretty excited to be here. This was the first day, so I've been reading and meeting people, and I know that will continue, but I'm looking forward to meeting the community members and serving you fine folks, and I'm just excited to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Any councilors wish to address us, the group?
Your Honor. Your Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Gabe. I guess for those that say we spend money on our wants and needs, I guess I just want to make a comment with regards to those who say our money is better spent on roads than I guess some of the projects are crap that some have called it lately. And I couldn't disagree more after volunteering, participating, and thoroughly enjoying the Harvest Market on Friday. Hopefully some others were able to attend and enjoy the festivities. Thousands flocked down to the district, out of town and out of state, from some of those that I've met. And I think majority of the council doing, what the majority of the council is doing is looking forward for what this community can be and what it deserves. You know, as I look at growth, progress, and pride are something that are on the horizon as you look at some of the things we've been enjoying, some of the projects in progress. Decay, stagnation, pessimism is what we're striving to drive away from, and unfortunately something that's been present for too long. Thank you, Mr. Eaton, for encouraging those to get out and vote. I think voting yes tomorrow for the franchise fee isn't just saying yes to the road repair and replacement. For me, it's saying yes to the fact that you believe in Marshalltown leadership, saying yes that you believe that we can be better than what we are today, and saying yes for the fact you take pride in saying you're from Marshalltown. I'm a proud council member, proud father raising my family here, and proud community member who love what this town has to offer and continues to drive forward. A shout out to the 13th Street District for a wonderful event this last weekend, and thank you for city leadership on the investment on just one of many projects we've done over the recent years, Weston Park redevelopment. I'm looking forward to refresh streets, but obviously I'm not going to ignore the continued momentum we have throughout Marshalltown. So I look forward to the results of the franchise fee and those that believe the same thing I do.
Thanks, Councilor Isom. Councilor Ladoff, I think you were starting to speak about the same time.
I too would like to thank Joe for being here. I keep telling him how happy we are to see him here, but I just want to give a shout out to all the other department heads and everybody else who stepped up just a little bit, and actually more than a little bit, to carry us through until we could get Joe in here. Your extra work was much appreciated, and it seemed like we got along okay, but it was obvious that we really needed a CA to get in here. So thank you all who all helped. It just shows what a good staff we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
If the past comment was in regards to my comments, I believe it says the mayor and councilors shall not engage in discussion or debate of the items raised by members of the public, and no action may be taken on items raised by the public comments in order to comply with the open meeting laws.
It does, and I was asked in advance about that, and so I made a determination that because we switched the order, didn't keep the mayor, council, and administrator from making comments of the meeting, and the fact that no further comments from the public were being made, that switched over to the next item on the agenda, which is to allow comments by the council. And so there isn't a good way to police whether it's in response or not. It looked to me like probably those remarks were already ready to go and prepared. And in the ordinary course of business, before we switched the order around, your comments would have been at the end of the meeting. But note taken. Okay. I don't have any other comments. I don't think anybody else on the council does either. Let's go on to the consent agenda to see if anybody wants to move to approve the items on that.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Second.
Very good. Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Very good. That's carried. And what are they?
Approve the minutes for the August 28th, 23 meeting, the bill list in the amount of $1,762,326.53. Receipt of the building and trade permit report for August of 2023. The civil service new hire list for parking enforcement, police officer, and transit operator. Resolution 2023-171 approving the use of council designated local option sales tax for the new construction incentive grant for Hopkins Properties LLC. Resolution 2023-172 approving a lease agreement between the city of Marshalltown, Iowa, and the Marshalltown Little League, Inc. Resolution 2023-173 approving a subrecipient agreement revision with Youth and Shelter Services, Inc. for the Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Services Grant, and a revised contract between Youth and Shelter Services, Inc. and the city of Marshalltown, Iowa for services related to the Marshalltown Police and Community Team. Resolution 2023-174 to approve the facade grant application for 123 East Main Street in the north side, Marshalltown, Iowa. Resolution 2023-175 approving a professional administrative services agreement with Region 6 Resource Partners for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Tree Canopy and Tree Replanting Program. Resolution 2023-176 approving offer to purchase utility easement with Interstate Power and Light Company for parcel 841828302004. Resolution 2023-177 approving the offer to purchase utility easement with Interstate Power and Light Company for parcel 8418 228-302-005.
Very good, thank you. On to item G, motions. What's our one motion tonight?
Motion to approve outdoor service amendment for Legends American Grill at 2902 South Center Street on September 14th, 21st, 28th, October 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, this amendment is to add to their outdoor service area to include the parking lot on the east side so they can have bags tournaments on Thursday evenings.
Any questions or comments by the council? Questions or comments by the public? Roll call.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. That carried. And on to resolutions. Looks like we have two of those.
Resolution 2023-178, accepting bid and authorizing the award of contract for the Kiwanis Park Improvements Project, number PRK 22003, in the city of Marshalltown, Iowa, in the amount of $227,729.25 to Brothers Concrete.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
The discussion on this one.
Good evening, Heather Thomas filling in for Jeff this evening. This past Wednesday, we opened bids on this project. This project is for the Kiwanis Park improvements, which is the park just north of the Hoagland School. This project includes a basketball court, a pickleball court, a turf volleyball court, a soccer field, a small 16 by 16 shelter, and some sidewalks to connect from the sidewalk. We opened 7 bids, which is a great turnout. The bids ranged from $227,000 to $474,000. The low bid was Brothers Concrete. They're out of Des Moines. They have not done work for the city of Marshalltown in the past, so we did request references. Those references came back with nothing out of the ordinary, and Park and Rec is recommending for approval. It was $6,000 below the cost estimate, and this project is being funded with GO bond funds from the 363 fund. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions up here? Comments or questions by the public? Roll call on this one.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hoop.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. And our next and last resolution tonight?
Resolution 2023-179, adopting the GovHR USA classification and compensation plan for the non-bargaining positions and the use of council-designated local option sales tax to implement the new compensation scale.
I forgot under the manual, I'm supposed to say at the last one that carried, and it did. Is there a motion to approve the second resolution?
Move to approve, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any second?
Second.
Discussion on this one.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So in the month of August, I brought this to you for discussion, and you decided to use local option sales tax to cover the increase for the compensation study for the employees that are paid out of the general fund. The employees that are paid out of grants or enterprise funds, they'll pay their own way. Any questions?
Comments or questions by the council?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Diana, I have concerns that if we adopt this right now tonight, that we are not still looking at people that may be slighted because of their experience. And without going into detail, if we have 2 people that are both going to be brought up to a new starting pay, it discounts the years of experience that one would have over the other. It actually punishes them for having years of experience. And it's, without going into too much detail, it's my understanding that every position has not been looked at with that slant of the, looking at it. Can you assure me that if we don't do another study for 15 years, we're locked into this? Can you assure me that everything is going to be looked at in that fine-tooth detail?
I cannot, because I just did the numbers. The HR director she worked with the contractor to look at all that. I wasn't involved with that. Sorry.
No, based on that, Your Honor, I would move to table this until the next meeting, so we have time for the HR director and with the department heads to look at every individual that is affected by this and what it'll do to their pay. So I move to table this until the next meeting.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Let's call the roll.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
No.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff.
Yes.
Okay, that is tabled. On to the next item.
Ordinance 15071 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by repealing Chapter 151, Sections 151.001 through 151.003 Building Code and adopting a new Chapter 151, Sections 151.001 through 151.003 Building Code, which adopts by reference the 2021 International Building Code, the 2021 International Residential Code, the 2021 International Existing Building Code, the 2021 International Mechanical Code, the 2012 International Energy Conservation Code, the 2021 Uniform Plumbing Code as adopted by the state of Iowa, and the 2020 National Electric Code as currently used by the state of Iowa, and the National Fire Protection Association Chapters 54 and NFPA 58 with certain amendments. Second reading.
Your Honor, I missed some of that. Could you ask Alicia to repeat that?
Man, are you out of order on that? But I do appreciate reminding me that I need to let people talk at the start of the meeting and that sort of thing. Is there a motion to approve this new ordinance second reading?
Well, with what I heard, I'll move for approval, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That carried as well. On to discussion items, the first of which is a request to purchase a right-of-way. Anybody want to address that one? Heather, it looks like you're heading up to the microphone.
I'll give an update on this item. So at the last council meeting, I presented a proposal from the owner of 1110 West Church Street, who has a right-of-way, a city-owned right-of-way behind her property and also her neighboring property. She wanted to purchase the right-of-way, and per the policy, this can be done for $250. The council advised they wanted to see if the school district was interested in the right-of-way because they're on the other side of the property, and they confirmed they are not. And I did also, we made contact with the neighbor at 1108 West Church Street to see if they were interested in purchasing the right-of-way behind their property, and they are interested in doing that. So the proposal in front of you is to let the owners of 1110 and 1108 West Church Street purchase the right-of-way behind their properties at the price of $250. And to start the process, the council would need to make a motion to set the public hearing to vacate the right-of-way.
The microphone is open to the council first.
Sold.
Any rebuttal up here? Any comment out in the building? I think staff has its direction.
Do you need a motion, Alicia?
I don't need a motion. I can just bring that forward to the next meeting.
Yeah, let's see how we do on the next one. Discussion of intersection of Highway 14 and Edgewood Street.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. I'm going to pull up a couple of exhibits here. So great news, the Edgewood Street projects that are under construction are getting closer and closer to being complete. I hope to have the last of the concrete poured this week. We've got one drainage issue that we'll be working on to close that project out. But the intent of that project was really to move the semi-truck traffic off of Marion further to the north to Edgewood Street. The initial plans that the city had with that was to improve this intersection of Edgewood Street and Highway 14 with the Highway 14 corridor plans that have been talked about for several years. As some of you will remember, the city did apply for grant funding, was denied 3 times, and then earlier this spring elected not to apply for that funding again because of how the program had changed. So with moving truck traffic to this area, this is a tight intersection. It's actually, from a pavement perspective, slightly tighter than the current intersection with Marion. So we do know that something is needed here to allow those semis the ability to turn on Edgewood Street. We asked our engineers on that project to take a look at this and make a recommendation. So the exhibit in front of you, anything that's shaded is essentially existing pavement that they are recommending be removed. This next sheet is the pavement that would go back. We asked them to look at turning diagrams and movements for the large trucks, so the WB67s, and we wanted the ability for trucks to turn right on Highway 14 off of Edgewood Street while simultaneously allowing trucks to turn back to the east from Highway 14, making a left. So this allows that turning movement without having to get those trucks in the other lanes. I know in part of the Highway 14 corridor study, there had been discussion about whether Highway 14 would remain a 4-lane road or go to a 2-way left turn lane. This turning diagrams that we ran accommodates both configurations, so if there are changes in the future, this intersection would not need to be redone. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of pavement there that would need to be in place. We have had preliminary discussions with both the property on the northeast and the southeast corner, and we feel like we're at a place where negotiations can continue if that's what council directs us to do. This last exhibit is just talking about the right-of-way that we need. The southeast quadrant is just temporary access. The northeast quadrant would be acquisition. And so this is the recommendation of this intersection, and next is what the next steps are and how to get there. This is estimated to cost roughly $80,000. This was not part of the Edgewood project. One of the difficulties with the Edgewood project, in most cases we'd come to you and recommend a change order into the Edgewood project to make this happen. However, that project has some environmental requirements due to the funding, and this intersection was not included in that environmental review. So I cannot change order this into the project. So we're asking for a little direction there. A couple options on the table would be we could go out for bids. Potentially, as we finalize some of the details, there is a hydrant that needs to be relocated. There's a power pole that needs to be relocated. There's actually a handhole for a fiber optic as well that needs to be relocated. So if we determine that the water main hydrant, I should say, is going to be relocated as part of the project, we're probably pushing that $80,000. The bid threshold is $65,000. So depending on how we look at that and do that, it's possible it's below the bid threshold, and then we wouldn't need to go out for bid. Another option is to go ahead and change order this into another one of our street projects that are being funded locally. When we look at the 3 street projects we have going on this year, State Street, South 7th Ave, and Edgewood, all of them have been competitively bid and procured and awarded to Construct. So if council so choose, I think that is also an option on the table to change order that into maybe the South 7th contract. But with that, I'll open it up for questions and discussion.
Okay, let's start up here. Anybody have a reaction up here?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Heather, when will Edgewood and 8th Avenue be ready for truck traffic? What kind of timeline are we chasing with this intersection?
I think we feel comfortable in our agreement with the contractor that we would like to get that project completely finished before we open the project up. While pavement is supposed to all be in place this week, we need some curing time and strength time in there. There is one drainage issue that I'd like to resolve. That's ultimately likely going to come back before you with a change order to get that drainage issue resolved. So I would not anticipate anything being open for traffic until the end of October.
Okay, so we're pushing a month and a half, so I would be in favor of you being able to do a change order to use Construct and get this moving. And I'd even suggest that at the same time, you update the parking on the street and come back to us with no parking on either side of that street all the way down past Fifth. Because
Yep.
it's pretty narrow for two semis to pass.
We do have plans for ordinance amendments, both for parking along this stretch and then also a stop sign change. We have a couple of other items that are coming before you in the next couple council meetings that'll have similar items, so we're going to wrap all those together in an ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. I ran past.
Your Honor, I guess in taking Gary's comment as a motion with regards to the change order on one of the current construct projects, I would second that if that was a motion.
He's shaking his head, yes, that can be considered a motion, so we'll take your second to that. And that would provide staff direction. Let's go ahead and, well, I haven't asked for public input yet. Any public input? Let's vote.
Lolleyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
I ran past there yesterday to see how it's going. But I was amazed at the amount of pavement to the east there, when we got into the field, so it's coming along fast. Good. Okay, next item is downtown parking leases.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. I'm going to go ahead and kind of give a summary of downtown parking in general. But the reason this item is in front of you this evening is we have a Janelle Carter with us in the audience who is requesting to lease parking stalls within one of our parking lots. And so instead of talking about just a single event, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of all the downtown leases that we have and where we're at and where we may go. This was one of the items that Jessica had previously indicated that needed to come back to council later this year to discuss. So right now, downtown, we have urban core zoning in much of this area. As part of that zoning requirement, it does not require off-street parking for different buildings. While it's awesome and great that we're getting some redevelopment downtown, especially with second-story housing, that is going to present a challenge for parking, and we need to accommodate and change our ordinances to be able to allow that. I mentioned that there is a request for parking lot H, which is the one behind the Tremont, and I'll invite Janelle up here in a little bit to talk. But we also have another parking lot lease in place downtown. That parking lot is for 113 East State Street. I've pulled that up in an exhibit in front of you. In the past, this was leased out the east side by the adjacent apartment complex and the west side by the bank. This past year, the bank let us know that they are no longer interested in leasing that west half. So that lease has been in place since 2013. And has not been changed or updated since that time. Initially, that was a 3-year lease, and I think we've been operating on the auto renewal standpoint from that time, but it's probably a lease that we need to look at updating as well. In our code and our master fee schedule that we have right now, we do have a line item in there that parking space lease in a city lot should be $25 per month per stall. So I've taken the lease that I just mentioned in relation to 113 East State Street, in addition to that master fee schedule, and I put together the table at the bottom of this page. Let me blow that up for you. As you can see, depending on the type of lease, there can be variables whether snow removal is done by the city or if it's done by the leasee. Same as pavement markings. And then also, right now, we have time restrictions on when people can park in city lots downtown and how that's enforced. So I've kind of thrown a table up there just for comparison purposes. I did put a column in there that's the calculated monthly cost per stall. As you can see, it varies from $2.63 to $25. I did reach out to several other communities to see how some of them are handling a similar situation and if we're in the ballpark or not. Ames is a community that leases out their stalls at $50 per space per month. Toledo, so a little smaller, They are in a situation where they have a lease that equates to $16.67. So as you can see, that's kind of the range from the different sizes communities. There's also some additional information shown with what the time restrictions are on those and whether snow removal is responsible or not. At this time, I'd like to invite Janelle up to talk about her request for stalls specifically in Lot H.
Hello, nice to see you guys. As you know, I'm putting in 14 units in that corner of downtown State and First. And so what I'm requesting are at least 10 spots on the backside of that parking lot behind the Tremont. That would just ease some of the pressure that we would have on 14 units, assuming there's an average of one person per unit in those apartments. So Heather and I have talked, and I know this is a work in progress, but I do believe that the opportunity for tenants to park somewhat close to their unit in a lit parking lot would increase the safety, security for them in that area as they can enter in that back area. So, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
Your Honor, if I may. Janelle, when is your first tenant going to be moving in? I mean,
Well, that's always a good question, especially when we're in the middle of construction and we're still having a lot of supply issues. But we're aiming for an opening date sometime right after the first of the year. We feel like we can say February 1st, maybe hoping for January 1st, but you know, it all kind of depends on how the next couple months go. So, right in the middle of winter. Any other questions?
I guess I do have one question. What are you looking for? Would you rather have the full service city takes care of the snow, or would you rather have your building or the tenants take care of the snow?
I believe it would be a little bit better if it was a full service, because then everything can get done at once. When we spoke, we've talked in terms of theoretical terms, but I think we can make arrangements with tenants to move cars when necessary, and we can be flexible as to how that works. So, obviously, as an owner, I would keep track of who's parking there and their license plates numbers and things like that, so that we would know who is actually there. So it's not one of those situations where it's just some car there. So I think that when we talked, I think that's kind of the arrangement I would envision.
Is this similar to what's happening behind the Kibbe building? I know there are 4 units up there and some spots that are marked there. That's, as I understand, not a city-owned.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not city. Yeah, it is not. I'm not as familiar with the Kibbe building, so I probably shouldn't answer those
But
questions.
they're kind of designated for which tenant would have which parking spot, so that people would know from the public not to park.
Yeah, I would just imagine it would be first come, first serve. We have 14 apartment units. And obviously, it would just be who gets there first. There will be 4 spaces right behind the Hopkins building, but I'll designate probably 2 of those as a handicap parking space, and probably a short-term parking situation where, you know, you have 30 minutes to get your groceries in or whatever, and then they would have to move their car. So that's kind of the plan.
While you're up here, I have to say it's nice to be attending meetings at the chamber office and at the Central Business District office now over there.
Yeah, it is
That's
nice.
really a nice meeting place.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, they've done a good job.
Your Honor, if I may follow up?
I'm sorry?
If I may have a follow-up question?
Yeah, let me ask if anybody else up here does first to comply with the manual.
I do, but go ahead, Gary. My question's more for Heather.
Yeah, so is mine.
Okay.
Great. So you're done with me? All done? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Barry, it's your turn.
Thank you.
Or you could, what do they call it? Yield to the senator from
I'll take it.
the east side.
In the event there's public events, this parking lot's been used for events in the past, do we still hold the right to vacate that parking lot in the event of those events?
I think at this time, we don't have any leases signed, so we can always include that type of language in a lease.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor. Thanks, Barry. So Heather, part of the lease, would we do the signage then, showing the public that these spots are reserved? Is that something we would take on ourselves as a cost, a one-time cost?
That is something that we would include in the lease language and be able to police that. Specifically to this request, I do think this is, our first one of this kind, but likely not our last. And so that's why I felt it was important to bring it as a discussion item. For some of those reasons, the city's not in the parking lot business, and I don't know that the parking lot business is a money-making proposition. But I also believe that there's going to be a lot of businesses that may have some opinions on the situation too, and concerns if we lease all of our stalls out where their patrons going to park. So just from a financial standpoint, I did take a look at this parking lot. This is a very nice parking lot, recently redone. It was done above and beyond a standard parking lot in the sense that this was a stormwater improvement project. There's actually stormwater storage underneath this parking lot, in addition to 2 electric charging stations. So the construction of this lot was $960,000. Engineering was about $150,000. So a total project cost of about $1.1 million. If you take out some of the extras and the fancy sponsored project items and electric charging, that brings it down to about $700,000 if you would do this as a traditional parking lot. There's 62 stalls there, so over the period of 20 years, that equates to $47 per stall per month. So just wanted to have that information available to you guys. In addition, parking lot, restricted parking. Right now, we do prohibit parking in a city parking lot between 2:30 and 5:30 a.m. at all times. And then during snow removal operations, we have some different days of the week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday has a certain restriction, and other areas are restricted on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a longer period of time from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And so those are all items that need to be accommodated in the lease. As we met with Janelle on site, we did talk through the snow removal aspect. I would say if we're going to lease out stalls, a single stall, that's not something the city wants to be required to come back and remove snow. But in this situation where they're looking at leasing a block of stalls, potentially in the picture above along the south side, that is something that we could accommodate by saying the first night of the snow they would park in their normal spots. The second night they would be required to go to the other areas where we've already removed snow. And I think that's something that we can accommodate pretty easily with coordination with Janelle. I talked a little bit about the restricted parking times. I have included a map of downtown stalls in this area. But I'm looking for a little direction. One of the main ones is, what do we do to accommodate this request and future request, in the sense of, is it first come, first serve, or are we going to say, hey, no, we are not going to lease out any stalls in certain parking lots? If that's an item that you guys can provide us direction, we're happy to accommodate that. From there, we'll look at maybe making recommendation on lease terms. We'll take any recommendation you have, and then we'll put something together and bring that back forward to you for future discussion. With that, I'll open it back up.
Your Honor.
Yes.
So I noticed in the recommendations, or I guess the comparisons of some other areas throughout central Iowa, there's different slots, like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. as far as the slots. Is the discussion here 24-hour lease or certain times of the day with regards to the parking spaces?
Yeah, so Ames' example was a 24-hour lease. Toledo was the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. In discussions with Janelle, she's looking for a 24-hour lease space. The way that she's intending to do it is they will have a designated parking pass, but it's not stall specific, so that her commercial tenants or nonprofit tenants would have the ability to park in those stalls during the day as well. But it would be them first come, first serve on the number of stalls that they lease.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may?
You may.
Heather, I like the idea. We're trying to increase downtown upper story housing, and it's going to spread out from downtown a little bit. I like the idea of having a policy for all lots, a uniform policy. Makes it easier for you, makes it easier for Alicia. I would like to see, but like just one stall per living unit maybe, so we don't get into a situation where they're buying the whole parking lot. like the one by the Creamery building, you talked about Lot H. Is that right, Lot H?
I believe that would be, it's not shown on, it does not currently have a letter designation since it's been in a private lease.
That one, I don't know how many apartments are in that building, and they're leasing that, the whole east side, so 18 spots, whatever. I don't know why we just don't sell them the parking lot, but that's a whole different issue. But getting back to that, uniformity across all lots, one policy, maybe cap it at 1 or 2 spots per living unit, whatever you guys come up with. And then I was looking at, like, a food truck that parks on Main Street, I think has to pay $50 to be there for one day for one event. Is that right, Alicia?
Yes.
So I don't want to see us allow 365-day parking for, $5 a day, something like that. I think your staff needs to come up with something that's equitable to all. Plus, we need to take into consideration if these are low-income housing, the landlords are going to pass this through if they want parking, I'm assuming. I'm assuming Janelle and other landlords aren't going to eat this. So we need to be cognizant of that also. So good luck with all that, but that's my request.
So can I confirm that you're requesting the lease only be offered to downtown housing units? So an office space or a restaurant would not be able to lease stalls?
I don't see why they would have to, because all I would ask is that, like in Janelle's case with the Hopkins and Willard's buildings, that they're not parking on Main Street, that's for the shopper, And I don't know why she would have to buy spots for the business entities, because they're transient, it's during the day, they're not there 24/7, that they could park in the open lots, and that may help her budget-wise too. So, no, I guess I'm not recommending that the businesses be required.
Thank you. I'll make sure in our, what we bring forward, we have a limit of maximum number of 1 stall per unit, and then allow that for residential units.
That's just what I'm saying. I mean, there's 6 other counselors you need to talk to, and the city administrator.
There is a new paradigm or a new business opening up that will be renting office spaces to people, where I could see that same sort of tenant would want to have the ability not to have to drive around the block to find a place to park. And so that's a new commercial space. I haven't seen it yet, and I know I missed an open house, I think, last week. But, as we get more people to live down here and work down here, more of an issue. Mike, did you start to talk?
Yes. Heather, do you remember off the top of your head, when we redo Main Street, how many parking spots we're going to be opening up by going diagonal on one side?
I apologize. I don't know that number off the top of my head. I do know that we were still a net loss slightly with that project, because there are some other areas like State Street where we've removed parking. So when you look at just those 2 projects between State and Main, I know it was still a net loss of parking, but not a substantial number.
I think we added some on Main and lost some on State, is the way that went? Probably.
That's correct.
Anyone else up here? Anyone in the public want to address this one?
Good evening, John Hall with the Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce, 34 West Main Street. Just one comment I wanted to make about the use of the spaces being designated for strictly residential or strictly business. So to be clear, we're not asking for dedicated parking spaces because we have found an abundance of parking available. We park in the last row intentionally, knowing that we don't want to take the closest to business spaces. But I think the proposal that Janelle has offers maximum flexibility with minimum impact to the most available spaces for business turnover. And so one of the tragic things that Ames has with their 24-hour restricted spaces is you can go to downtown Ames many times of the day and not find available parking, but see tons of available spaces that have 24-hour restrictions on them because those folks are away at work or otherwise not there. And so the flexibility that she is asking for in the 10 spaces that are flexed for her tenants allow us as commercial tenants to park in those spaces during the day when their upstairs tenants may otherwise be gone for the day, and then they have that obligation of making sure they get moved back to those spaces for that 24-hour parking, overnight parking, to not get a ticket. And so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't lost in the conversation about the use for residential, is that we would love it if only for the fact that we can maximize the utilization of that parking space over time, and then Janelle can shift some of that impact to our lease as well, and not just on the upper story residential. So, thank you.
Thanks, John. Other public comment? Heather?
Can I follow up to?
Sure.
This, like, if we lease 10 spaces, I don't care if a hanging tag on the mirror, if Janelle has 30 of them that she hands out. You know what I mean? So, like when I say limited the spaces, they can have multiple cars with tags, because only one's going to be in the spot at a time. So I agree with that. So thank you, Your Honor.
Heather, have you got enough direction for where to go, or do you need a motion and second and all that sort of thing?
If there's more comments, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll work on putting a draft for it to come back to you.
Okay, I think that will work. It's pretty exciting to have these issues coming up because of the development going in downtown. That ends our discussion on downtown parking lot leases, and by my watch, we're at about 6:24, and we are adjourned. Thank you for coming. I was going to say